You have to study success a lot more. Talk about it and make it the central focus. What had to happen to have a success in such and such? We're wonderful as human beings as studying failure, right across the board, all policies, all areas. Medical surveys, epidemiology, all of them look at potential failure, potential risks, and all the rest of it. Very few organizations or parts of human endeavor really study success. This is wrong, because you don't give a sense of hope, and then you don't learn from success. We try and learn from failure. I think studying successful examples as to what went right and why, and how did it get off the ground, is as important. Sure, learn from problems. I'm not suggesting that, but study success and solve problems. I think that in reaching to governments and to publics, we can't go to them with saying, boy, do we have a comprehensive multi-sectoral analytical framework for you. You could. The acronym is not good. But if we can say we have, and this is on the ground level, so it's a different one in each country, we think that we can work together to really increase the amount of water that is coming into the city, that we can alleviate part of the water shortage in agriculture. And it's got to be problem focused. We then take it home and we insist that it be done with an integrated water resource management approach. But we don't sell ourselves on the basis of the approach. We sell ourselves on the basis of really being able to come up with good approaches to actual problems. So stay with the approach. That's, as I say, that's what we're in the business. That's what we're here for, is bringing all these partners together. But you don't sell it that way, and you don't approach it that way. I think you have to approach it in the sense of some of the real life problems. We can, working together, start to work on this particular border problem, and that's one where I think on the transboundary, GWP has really done some good things. But again, then you've got to talk about the practical problems in a transboundary area in order to get attention on it, and not the theoretical underpinnings of this. Now, so I'm going to end with stories of things. I think I put a new way of doing this in this slide. So this may be the end of the presentation. If it isn't, I'm going to talk about some things, stories of things that are working now. So let's go. And there's a lot of them, so I'm going to talk fast, but you can have the slides if you want. Australia, there's nothing like a drought. Sung to the tune of there is simply nothing like a Dane. There's nothing like a drought. Australia was able to get extraordinary things through on the Australia National Water Initiative. Nationally compatible system of managing surface and groundwater resources, transparent water planning, statutory provisions for environmental and other benefits, complete return of all allocated or overused systems. That's a big one, because irrigators around the world, there's ICID people here know very well that if you save water in irrigation, the farmer will promptly use it to expand the amount of land that he or she can put under irrigation. And so therefore, systems to return over-allocated or overused systems to the environment are really important. Removal of barriers to trade in water, clarity about the assignment of risk, water accounting, which is able to meet the information needs of different water users, policy settings that facilitate water use in urban and rural areas. Some of this has backslid since the end of the drought. It doesn't help that it rained a lot after. People's memories are enormously short. But it's enormously interesting to study and I'm sure GWP has, but what we need to do is point out that people can get through bad situations, and one of the ways they get through them is to learn from them and to put in new measures. We know about the Cambodia Drinking Water Authority, but I think that one of the lessons here is not to admire what Saint-Chan did, which I think we all do. Connections got 7 times as many non-revenue water, that's the leaks for any non-experts in the group, fell from 73% to 6%. Collection efficiency from 8% to 99%. Look at the revenues, and the utility is now self-financing. Virtuous circle. Tariffs now increased, have a constant combination of service expansion, reduced water, and high collection rates are enough to guarantee the whole thing going, so the subsidy isn't needed anymore. Now, the thing here is that's a huge success. But how do we build on that? How do we build that to get to the other elements of good water management? How do we harness Exxon Chan and his people? One of the ways is to try and get water and sanitation in there, and wastewater treatment. Another way is to try and make sure that wastewater treatment is available for agriculture. Another way is to make sure that the water that is coming out goes back to the environment. So we don't need to start our planning from whole cloth. If we start from where there are areas of success in a country, we can build on those because you've got some tried and true and trusted factors that are working hard and some areas of success that we can therefore build upon. Philippines, the Billy Bago system, everybody usually talks about the big system in Manila, but this guy just went around to towns and villages asking whether they'd like piped water. This will be the bill for it. Showed them the tariffs if they wanted it, they'd get it. It's an attractive proposition. People said, yes, we do, and they got it. I mean, how can we say, what could be simpler than that? Can we build on what he did? People never want to pay for sanitation, but it's a nice thing. But anyway, very simple ways to do it. Extending water service to improve general resource management. We all know about meters for drinking water. We think of them as a billing initiative, but look, if you've got a radio transmitter in a meter, you get real-time data, which can even out the demand for source water. You get early detection of leaks, calibrate the energy demand. You also get flood indicators and groundwater quality indicators, and so you're starting to move into some of the elements of integrated management. Malta is now totally smart metered. Now, okay, it's an island. It's like doing anything in Singapore. People say, yeah, but that's Singapore. But, all right, but we've got one place, one country that is now totally smart metered. Think of what an advance we could make in terms of finding out so many different elements of water management if we actually could move to smart metering in another few places. It's integrating both water and power systems, because if you're smart meter, then you'll know how much pumping you actually need, and able to identify leaks and electricity losses both. So it's a good nexus project there. The big problem, I don't know, where I come from in British Columbia, my husband has unflattering things to say about British Columbian mentalities, but they've decided that this is the latest plot against, I've forgotten exactly what, but that anyway, smart meters are the latest attack on your personal freedom or something. So, there are obstacles, but Jimmy, look at this, what a device this is, not just for meters, but also for some of the IWRM parts too. Cities as their own catchment, talked about this earlier. As we build new and more sophisticated cities, we've got to realize that we can't just keep adding to the supply, we know this, and so we've got to move further out on that chart and start creating the kind of city that can use, reuse, reproduce, and even discover some of the sources of their own water. So, got to move from a single objective about runoff reduction and stormwater management to the multiple benefits of this. Reducing conventional water supply that is needed for the network. Here's a place that's done it, Luggage Point. That is not where they send all the lost luggage in the world. This is a place in Australia that treats wastewater, that now supply power production, drinking water supplies, and returns the water to the environment. That's in Queensland Hill. In other words, a good thing to talk about, a good example. You can build outward from that. MASDAR in Abu Dhabi, many of you have been there. This city is eventually going to rely entirely on renewable energy sources, and they are determined to have an extremely aggressive use of a variety of water sources: groundwater, seawater, surface runoff, rainwater harvesting, dew fog capture, grey water reuse, black water reuse, and resource recovery. What's the importance of that? Can we all be as rich as Abu Dhabi? If I knew that, I'd probably be standing here giving you a different speech. But what we can do is find out what the technology was, make sure that we follow the technology as it becomes from more expensive to less expensive, and that we can actually use those technologies in places which are part of our mandate, which is the South and their needs to be able to do these things, to capture these things. We will need both technology and will. So here's where some of the technology will come